This is a hybrid meeting. Should any technical interruption to the meeting occur and the Zoom portion of the meeting is suddenly ended, it will not be resumed and all items will be automatically continued to the next scheduled meeting date. This meeting is being recorded by the Conservation Commission. If any other persons present are doing the same, you must notify the chairperson at this time. I would like to call to order this meeting of the Greenfield Conservation Commission, 6:31 p.m., August 11th, 2026. We'll begin the meeting with approval of meeting minutes. Oh, right. You think I was new. Let's see, currently.
No commission members are online.
No commission members are online. And present, we have our newest commission member, Emily. Please remind me of Emily, right?
Millie.
Emily, go back there.
Millie, okay.
You can turn on your mic, just press
Yep.
it once and it will turn green in a second.
There you go.
That's so fancy.
So welcome to the commission. Could you state your name just for the record, please?
Emily Bolduc.
Thank you. Travis also.
Travis Drury, present.
Elizabeth Garofalo, and here is Emily. All right, well, that's perfect timing because now we can get to the meeting minutes from last meeting. Does anybody have any questions, concerns? Had a minute to look at the minute to look at the minutes? It's going to be one of those. It's just like, prepare yourselves.
I'll move to approve the meeting minutes from July 28th, 2026.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, in that case, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstentions?
Oh, I abstain, yeah.
Okay, great. So, and I'm also an aye, so the minutes pass with 3 votes aye, 1 abstention. Let's see, a brief public comment. Public comment may be allowed at the direction of the chair. That's me. If you want to be considered for making a comment, please alert the chair by raising your hand in person or virtually. Moving along, we have old business at the top of our agenda this evening. 52 River Street, map 32, lot 2A, restoration plan discussion. A portion of this parcel contains priority and estimated habitat. The owner has stored items in this area as well as parked vehicles and other disturbances over time. Conservation Commission to discuss the owner's proposed restoration plan to restore this portion of the parcel and next steps to move forward with this project. We have allocated 25 minutes for this conversation.
Okay, Stephen Riberty. Okay, let me back up.
Mhm.
The owners hired Stephen Riberty of Goddard Consulting to come up with the restoration plan. And that was submitted, and Stephen is online currently and is going to present the plan. Steve, can you share your screen?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me first before I get into anything?
Yes,
Yep.
we
Great.
can hear you.
All right, let me share. And let's see here. See if that's the right screen. Does it look like a restoration plan on your screen there?
It sure does.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I'm Steve Riberty, Goddard Consulting. I'm the senior ecologist here. Owen and Frank are also on the meeting tonight to chime in too. But yeah, so we were hired by the applicant to kind of put together a restoration plan for the enforcement order that was issued. So if you look at the screen, the kind of yellow line, we did some historical aerial research to kind of figure out, what was the historic kind of limit of what was cut out here, and that was kind of what was in yellow. And some of that predated, even back before the Rivers Protection Act. And then we kind of looked at, okay, what was there more recently and what was cut? That's kind of the pink line. And as you can see, most of it's, coterminous. It's the same line, but kind of over in that kind of, right side corner, you can see the pink and the yellow kind of diverge. And that's, the area in between was definitely, vegetation was removed there more recently. You can see it. You can see evidence of it in the field. There was cut, brush, and, it was more earthy, disturbed soil. So you could tell it was fairly recent disturbance compared to the other areas of the site. So that's the area we focused on for restoration. We talked to the the owner, he was fine with, putting stuff back in here. We did a little bit of as much, forensic analysis of what was cut as we could to kind of determine what was there. It looked like it was a lot of Japanese knotweed, multiflora rose, garlic mustard. That's kind of the dominant species in there. There's some early successional stuff in there too, like some sumac and some black locust, which is also invasive. So, we kind of put a restoration plan together for that area. We've got a number of plantings, obviously some heavy invasive control because, anything we put in there is going to get outcompeted by the invasives pretty quickly. Those two red dots, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit without losing the screen here. Zoom in. There. Yeah. Like these two red areas here, these are two large trees of heaven that are actually there right now. Just given how bad tree of heaven is and the host species for lanternfly, I wanted to propose to remove those trees, maybe keep the stumps in there and stump treat it to kill it. But, I don't want to destabilize any slopes or anything. So that's part of the restoration plan. When we looked at the area that was cut too, we didn't notice any trees that were cut. We didn't notice any grubbing or, stumps of anything significant. So I don't think any trees were originally removed. But we're putting back, 40 odd plants, 20 trees, 20 shrubs, all native species. I got the list on the plan here. Overseed it with, conservation wildlife seed mix. Probably put up some kind of a fence or like a barrier to, make a visual break between. So this area is noted to be, riverfront area, can't be disturbed, and put some signage on it as well. We've got those details in the invasive species, the restoration plan. So that's kind of the sum of kind of what we did and kind of what we put together based on what we found. And I think, Jessica, as you noted, this isn't rare species habitat. I haven't permitted anything with them yet. I want to make sure we have a final plan, and then we can take that to natural heritage. But given that it's a restoration, I don't think they'll have any issue with it. We'll probably get a checklist review and approval fairly straightforward. Maybe with some turtle stuff on it because I think this is turtle habitat. So there may be some timing restrictions and stuff, but I foresee that as a fairly straightforward permit. But outside of that, I'll turn it over to the commission for comments and I guess the next steps to move forward.
Could you just add the part about the boundary that you suggested, the boundary markers? Did you say that already?
Fence.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, sorry.
I have it as like a fence, but yeah, it's. I think I don't know if those symbols on there are boundary markers or not.
They are, yeah. It's proposed as specifically signs. It says so in the little call out in the bottom right of the screen here, third bullet point.
Sorry, I didn't have my glasses on. I do now.
Okay, so I had been in touch with Natural Heritage with Melanie Cheeseman.
Yep.
And she sent me an email that I figured I'd read for you guys because I wasn't exactly sure of the process, but she said a full MISA filing and fee will be required for the unauthorized storage and restoration of the site. If an NOI is required, then the applicant should submit a standalone MISA checklist with information on the initial storage work and any other site violations, the timeline for when that work occurred, and the proposed restoration plan and timeline for restoration. And then she said that she's happy to speak with you all directly and answer any questions you have, and I can share her contact information with you.
That's great. Yeah, no, I work with Melanie all the time. So yeah, that's standard filing procedures for them. That's kind of what I anticipated.
Okay, great.
Does the commission have any comments or questions at this time?
I have a question for the rest of the commission. Did an enforcement order actually get?
No, there wasn't, this has
Okay.
been like a friendly
Yeah.
exchange. No official enforcement order was issued.
Okay. I just wanted to double check because there
clarify,
was a
yeah.
meeting that I missed. And
Right.
I was just
Yeah.
making sure I didn't miss something that
Yeah.
may or may
Yeah,
not.
sorry, I said enforcement order too. I forgot if one was issued or wasn't in the interim.
All right. Thanks.
Hearing nothing from the commission, I think we can move on to the next part of the
Well,
discussion.
yeah,
Yes,
I did want to just address like what the next steps would be, what you all wanted to see. This all originated out of the desire to put a storage pavilion on the property. And so one thing that needs to be discussed is an NOI required for this? And if it is, I would like to propose that it's bundled with their original requests so that they don't have to go through notifying the abutters, doing all the different things, add in the paper, all that stuff. I feel like that's just like, I don't know, a good policy to bundle it. But if that is still the desire of the owner. And also, that sequencing would probably need to be discussed if that was the case, for if the pavilion is still desired. One of the comments from the DEP was about, I think his biggest holdup in the comments was that because of the degraded area, it messed with the calculations of the 10% riverfront area. Riverfront standards require that 10% or less, right, of riverfront area is disturbed in a project, in a given project. And I don't remember the specifics of your application, but I feel like DEP comments said that if the violation hadn't occurred, that 10% number may be reached with your project and not exceeded. I would have to review it, but that just going off memory, I think that was the big thing. So if this restoration occurred, the commission would want to address whether or not that gives the green light with the project as it was submitted, so they could just resubmit the NOI with the restoration and the pavilion and be able to move forward in the timeline sequence that the commission requested.
I mean, I'll let the applicants, the owners speak to if they want to do that or not. And I didn't look at it with that mindset of like, are they over the riverfront thresholds now or not? I think at the time they were thinking of not going forward with the other project, but that could have changed. So I don't want to speak for them. I think they're there in attendance, so I'll let them speak.
If you could turn on your mic just so that everyone online can hear too.
Not really sure what you mean by the 10%.
Yeah, let me bring it up because I know I did not articulate that very well. So basically, the Conservation Commission has jurisdiction over various wetland areas.
Sure.
And riverfront area, which is 200 feet from the edge of the river, has certain performance standards. And so within the riverfront area performance standards, let's see, I have it written down here from earlier. Let's see. Sorry, I guess I didn't write it down verbatim, but basically applicants are allowed to like degrade up to 10% of the riverfront area. And degrade means like if your building crosses over into riverfront area, is that less than or equal to 10% of the total riverfront area on your parcel, right? So that's kind of the flexibility. And I believe the DEP comments was saying that there was a chance that it would be within the 10%,
Mhm.
but that with the violations that he was referring to,
That was
that had to be addressed first.
Sure.
And then, so if it does exceed 10%, there is also the opportunity to do like a one-to-one mitigation. So if
Gotcha.
it's like, certain amount of square feet over, could you maybe like increase what you're doing by the same amount of square feet that you
Gotcha.
are over with the building?
I got you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make
Okay,
sense
great.
now. I don't think we want to bundle it at this point.
Okay.
We may be changing some design out there, maybe
Okay.
reducing the size. It might have been too big at first. And, obviously we're like, oh, maybe go big. So then we'll build into it.
Okay.
So we're not really settled on exactly sure
Okay.
what we want to do out front yet. I think we'd just really prefer we want to remediate the area of concern
Yeah.
and then just
Okay.
kind of,
Like clean the slate.
yeah, just clean the
Okay.
slate, and kind of start over.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. I just wanted to be respectful of,
I really
your
appreciate
time
that.
and money and
Yeah.
everything. So,
No, we're out of pocket fairly good amount of money at this point in time.
okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. And so you don't, you don't have to do it twice, but whatever you'd like to do.
Yeah.
Further questions or concerns?
Just want to thank you for your prompt response to this, and we're glad
Yeah.
we could do this in a engaged way rather than a adversarial way.
100%. That's how communities get along, right?
So I guess the question is, can this process proceed in the way it has been, where they do the MISA checklist directly through natural heritage? Or will a formal application need to be filed?
Yeah, I think for me, just thinking of like other projects that we've had come before us and everything. If it was like just the plantings, I would say let's just go ahead. But I think because there's going to be herbicide application in a resource area in the riverfront area, I think that would require an NOI. I mean, I think that's what we've done for other projects when
That required the herbicide.
when herbicides are used within a resource area, just because I think that adds like an extra layer of scrutiny, I guess. So that's what I would be leaning towards, like an NOI process for that.
Now,
I have a thought on that, if you don't mind my interjecting. Since he already has an NOI that's been continued, could that NOI just be amended to be restoration?
That was withdrawn.
Oh, it was. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
It was not as simple then.
So remind me, the herbicide is specifically relevant to those two tree of heaven that will be removed and then stump swipe?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to propose foliar, but if you don't want foliar, we can just do stump treatments. They can just do an injection. There's a lot of different ways that they have. So if you have reservations on certain application methods.
Sure. I guess what I'm trying to get at is there a way that we can deal with that tree of heaven? I'm aware of its various issues in the landscape, but is there a way that we could deal with that wouldn't require herbicide and therefore would ameliorate the concern that Travis has brought up?
You can just cut it down, but they are very vigorous resprouters.
Mm-hmm.
But for the tree of heaven specifically, what I would propose, because it's a full-size tree right now. It's not like a little thing. You can't spray it even if you wanted to. You would cut it and just paint the herbicide right onto the stump. So if we're just doing the invasive species control on those things, it's super simple, and the chance for any collateral herbicide getting on anything is almost zero. It's just put right on the cut stump as soon as you cut it.
This may sound tangential, but it relates. Right now, DEP is going through a update or a revision process for the regulations regarding ecological restoration. And as a part of that, they're also revising minimal activities within buffer area. And a question I have is whether that's also in the riverfront resource area, because I went to a briefing and that's the impression I got. But then when I looked at the materials, I wasn't sure. What I was reading just related to buffer zone. The reason I'm bringing it up is because it directly relates to invasive removal in that area. And I don't know, have you guys been following it at all?
No, I haven't gotten to any sessions.
It's very helpful because they're trying to reduce the interactivity and the filing needed for certain activities that are beneficial, one of which is invasive removal. If it's manual or uses handheld and even backpack herbicide use. Now, those are not in place presently. So these are changes that are forthcoming, but it just relates to this situation. So it might change what our precedent is in the future in terms of filing. But as I said, I'm not sure that it relates to 200-foot riverfront area. That was the impression I got from a briefing, but sometimes you take away something and that wasn't what they said. So it is something though that we might, like, if you, Jessica, could maybe just inquire with DEP,
Mhm.
that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did take a look at those myself, and the way that I read it, obviously they're draft regulations, but the way that I read it would be that because the change is in the activities not requiring an application section, which is at the top of the WPA and should apply to the entire thing, I would imagine that it is designed to, as you suggested, basically make, these types of herbicide treatments on invasive species exempt.
Yeah, I agree, Owen. I think like you said, it's listed in almost the preface of the regs where it's that applies to everything. That's kind of how I read it too. But again, like everybody said, it's draft. It hasn't been finalized yet, and we don't know when it's actually going to be finalized.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no one could really say.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like as things stand right now with the regulations the way they are, we are required to request an NOI for this particular project because of the herbicide component based on precedent that had been set with previous projects.
I think that's what we've always done. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that matches my understanding too.
Yeah, I think that's what we've always done in the past was any herbicide in a resource area. Because I think we've had people come to us before with projects that different like restoration things, and they were trying to decide whether they were doing any sort of pesticides or herbicides, and decided not to because we would have required an NOI if they did. So
I mean, we could do that here too. I can remove it if you're okay with it. It's not going to give the area. It'll be more competitive with the invasives, but the invasives are already there, and the chance of eradicating them is very small, and it's more control. So I'll just throw that out there. Then we can strike it from the restoration plan as well.
Perhaps a middle ground might be, did you have?
I was saying we're motivated to get it going and get it
Yeah.
completed this year. We don't want to go too much further down the road. It's been a long process as it is.
Well, so that's sort of what we're trying to find a balance to.
Yeah, no, I
to-
understand
yeah,
that,
Okay.
yeah.
And so to that point, perhaps if the balance might be, okay, so I get that we want to remove the tree of heaven. I agree 100% with that. We also want to eliminate the herbicide in order to,
Sure. I mean, that'll just cost me more money anyway.
right. But I think
already out 20
the
grand.
balance piece might be a commitment within the framework of the restoration plan to continue to ensure that those regrowth sprouts from those tree of heaven get removed so that the
Sure.
roots, the root system eventually gets starved of nutrients and then it dies over time. Yes.
Sure.
ma'am.
Sorry, could you pass that?
No, I mean, who's the one who's going to be monitoring this and regulating the removal of
So
the
that would be,
taps?
the requirements within the restoration plan, and the implementation of that plan would be for you folks to take care of.
I think Stephen was going to do that.
Yeah, I put in a provision for some monitoring and reporting on it for 2 years, like the standard amount.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, do you know I know you're more of a tree person than I am. Do you know how long it would take to cut all
Start
those
to-
suckers, tree of heaven?
And sufficiently to starve the root system?
Yeah, I mean, I'm imagining it'd probably be longer than 2 years.
I don't have a research-based answer for you for that.
Okay.
Yep.
Depends on how many come up. There's none there now. Right now, they're just two large plants, but
Yeah.
Well, I think those are our options, either
Yeah.
herbicide and NOI or no herbicide and
Stephen, would the herbicide even be guaranteed to work?
no, I mean, it'll probably kill the trees and stop them from growing, but you
The
know,
suckers still
with any invasive, getting full control is like multi-year effort, and you know,
Yeah, I
so
have a degree in biology as well, and I do quite a fair amount of gardening and other things. Now, I'm not a professional, but it's going to come back.
Yeah.
It'll take constant monitoring and
yeah, I mean, if we want to make it where it's more of just a commitment from the landowners to not only plant the plants, but like get out there a couple times a year and do a lot of hand pulling of the various invasives that are out there to kind of give all the native plantings a fighting chance. That's the whole point of the herbicide anyway. It wasn't to eradicate all the invasives there. That's probably an impossible task. So
That
I
might
can,
be a
I
good,
can make some minor revisions to that effect fairly simply.
yeah, the Japanese knotweed was 100 yards into the property.
Mhm. Mhm. So I guess I would propose moving forward without the herbicide and just with the two. I think a reasonable thing would be the 2 years of monitoring and cutting new growths within those 2 years.
I'm a fan of no herbicide as well. I don't like chemicals in our drinking water or anything like that. Not that Stephen said it would be localized, but I still
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
like it.
So I guess that would be my personal,
yeah, and I
and
think
then move ahead without an NOI.
only with this plan, we will eliminate the herbicide application from the restoration plan, which will make it so that you don't have to put in an NOI, but you will still have to go to the National Heritage and get
Yep.
them to plan.
yep.
Okay.
Do they copy you on that, or do we send you guys all the copies or
Sure.
everything, or Stephen will send you the
I
whole?
think Stephen, yeah, will keep
Yeah.
us in the loop. Yeah, that's,
Should we vote to
I think a vote.
approve the plan? I'll move to approve the restoration plan with the modification of removing herbicide and ensuring that the suckers of Tree of Heaven are cut during the 2-year monitoring period, and that this can move forward without an NOI.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I think
Abstentions?
everyone said aye.
Oh, no.
Okay.
And the motion passes. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. All
Great. Thank you, everybody. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
right, thanks, Stephen.
Okay. Up next. Public hearing, notice of intent, construction of a 3-story hotel, detached restaurant, utility connections, stormwater management system, and landscaped parking at 125 Mohawk Trail, map 46, lot 21, DEP number 168-0367. We've allocated 60 minutes for this discussion. The project consists of construction of 3-story hotel, detached restaurant, utility connections, stormwater management system, and landscaped parking. A hotel previously occupied the site and was demolished following approval of a notice of intent from previous owner and applicant. No additional site work has occurred since that time. As part of this proposed redevelopment, the remaining asphalt pavement, parking areas, and associated site utilities will be removed and replaced with new site improvements. The eastern portion of the property intersects the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetative wetland, the 200-foot riverfront area to an intermittent stream, and the 25-foot no disturb zone. The proposed work within the wetland buffers and the RA are within previously disturbed areas.
Okay, so this is a continuation from July 28th. And at that meeting, the commission requested that Berkshire Design go out and dig a few test pits to determine specifically the areas that are degraded. The plans that were presented, they used the hotel plot plan versus their proposed plan, excuse me, to calculate degraded numbers, which is a riverfront area performance standard requirement that it shows that the new project won't exceed the degraded area that was previously there. So I know that Jeff Squire went out and did that. He's not here tonight. Chris Baker is here tonight to discuss this and also move forward with other topics of this project and answer questions. So Chris, can you?
Sure.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to share. So I'm Chris Baker. I'm with Berkshire Design, and Jeff couldn't be here tonight, so I'm kind of filling in. I did a lot of the stormwater work on the project. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Okay. You all can see the PDF?
Yep, there you go.
There we go.
Okay, great. So as was mentioned, Jeff Squire did go out and kind of dig around and take photographs of the site. The dots in red are corresponding to the different photographs kind of around the site to give some indication of, you know, what this, you know, cover is on the site to show the, you know, it's kind of degraded condition. And most of the site is absent of topsoil due to the previous development. So like in picture 6, there's, you know, pieces of brick and concrete and different debris from the, you know, the previous development and the demolition. And even down, if you look at like 12 and 13, you know, there's some, you know, larger material in there. It's very sandy. Wouldn't really be classified as topsoil. And then again in 21, he kind of dug into the surface in these locations, like 18, 19, 20, 21 are all the same location. And he's kind of just showing what's right under the surface. But as you can see on the surface too, it's very gravelly and disturbed. So I don't know, I wasn't at the previous meeting, so I don't know if there was anything more that you'd like to go over about the degraded areas in particular.
I guess my question, you know, at the last meeting was just, you know, just to fill you in, you know, they were using the hotel being in existence as existing conditions and
Yep.
to calculate degraded area. And I just wanted some sort of indication of what it actually looks like on the ground now, because obviously there's not a hotel there now. And so just wanted to see, like, are those areas that had pavement, that had the building, are those actually degraded? Or, you know, obviously they were degraded when there was a building there and, you know, parking lot and everything. But so I just wanted to see something on the ground like this to just kind of, you know, give us an idea of, you know, yes, where the hotel was, basically all the topsoil was gone and, you know, there's rocks and, you know, it's not really, we can consider that a degraded area.
Okay.
So that was essentially my question at the last meeting. I don't know if anyone has any other thoughts about that.
How does this compare with like Aldi when they did the test plots there? Is it a similar situation where there was rubble in most of the areas or?
Yeah. At that, yeah, so that was some precedent for us was that was another site that had a hotel on it, and the hotel was demolished. And then they wanted to consider the hotel being there as existing conditions. And essentially, yeah, where the buildings were, I think, it had been like, I don't know, 10 or 15 years
Yeah,
or something
long
there.
time.
So I think a little bit more vegetation had like taken hold and grown up in
Yeah.
the area. But I think a lot of where the buildings were and where the parking lots were, even at that point, even after 10 or 15 years, it was like this, like rocks and gravel. And maybe there's like little plants hanging on in there, but it's not really like topsoil. And I went out with them and we were just like walking around and like, they were like digging some holes and pulling it out, and it's just like sand and gravel. And,
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted some, we asked
Clarification.
that other application to go out and do that.
Yeah.
And I thought it only seemed fair to ask the same here.
So then we can go forward with the calculations based on the current conditions, but it's been verified that essentially the places that had the hotel are disturbed still, that it's not a state of topsoil being present and vegetation. Or based on this, do we want to take a closer look ourselves and see if there is some difference? It's hard for me to tell just from looking at the pictures.
Yeah, it's hard to know like an exact, if it's exactly the same area.
It's
or
just
not,
sampling,
but
yeah.
Yeah, I guess I would feel comfortable moving forward with that part, with saying the degraded areas are degraded. I guess one question I'm unsure of, and Chris is probably a good person to have on here, is one of DEP's questions was about if we're considering what's on the ground now as existing conditions, how does that impact the stormwater calculations?
Yeah, I actually looked into that too, and I don't think we really discussed the stormwater system in much detail last
Yeah.
time. I wonder if maybe that's a good time to kind of move the
Sure.
conversation to more of a, like, Chris, would you be able to
Yeah.
do a little presentation on the stormwater system?
Yeah. I'm gonna switch. This is not the usual PDF viewer I use, so. So this is a overview of the stormwater system, and I can kind of just go through the major components of it. So there is an existing 12-inch line that comes over, and it kind of comes a little bit north of here where the building is, and we're proposing to relocate it, and that does bring in drainage from the lot across the street. So this needs to continue through the site. There's also an existing, this is like the opposite. There's also an existing 60-inch culvert that runs through the site. So that needs to also maintain the drainage from, and that's Mass DOT pipe. The stormwater system itself, there are some groundwater, high groundwater test pits on the site. So there's a couple of areas of recharge, but the fundamental peak flow mitigation or attenuation is done by retention areas that are subsurface units, storage units. So you can see there's one in the back lot that collects drainage from the back area. There is a second one kind of in the middle that is also a detention system that collects water and just mitigates for peak flow. And then there's a third one here. There's a fourth one over here. Forgot that we split that up. We also did add in a bioretention area to provide, surface water quality treatment. The other water quality treatment is conducted by hydrodynamic separators that are pre-treatment for these underground detention systems. So we, heard that you wanted something that was more green infrastructure. So we did add this bioretention area. Recharge is provided in these eye-shaped islands. These are also bioretention areas that will provide recharge. So that's the area of recharge. And everything, discharges to the east of the site, and that is the intermittent stream that runs along the eastern border of the property.
Does there's one at the very back of the building too. Does that as well go to the eastern site, or the
It
two?
does. It does.
Oh, wow.
So this actually, there is a small drainage area up here that is overland flow that goes into this corner, but the drainage from the proposed paved surfaces actually goes through this unit and gets directed back up to the front into where there is a structured outfall.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah, it kind of comes around and it heads back south before it gets into this 12-inch pipe and discharges at this location.
And that's the area where the waterway turns and takes that right hand turn.
Yep.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, because there's another outfall. There's the Mass DOT culvert that comes in right here. It's not really very clear on this plan, but there is you can actually see the easement lines better than you can see the culvert, but it comes in through this area here.
And you guys don't tap into that one at all, right, with this plan?
So we actually do down here. This system here does go into it.
Okay.
And this one up here connects in as well. So there are two discharge points. The one in the southern area of the site, this one, I believe there's already a structure there, so we're basically reusing that. This one would be a separate connection in this area here.
Is the 12-inch pipe in the northeast corner, that one?
Yep.
Is that outfall area, is the pipe completely intact? Because the angle I was looking at it from, I saw another kind of tube pipe, which I can bring up on the screen, but I didn't think that was the actual 12-inch, and I think the angle I was looking at it from, and I was on the other side of the fence, so I couldn't actually get to it. I think it was hidden by the ground, so I was just curious.
Yeah, there is another pipe that I think needs to be investigated out there that the survey did pick up, but there's no record of it. So it's presumably also coming from this site, but that would be eliminated if it were, presumably it will be found during the construction and eliminated, and just this 12-inch. But I don't know. I don't know if you have.
I can bring it up on my screen if you'd like.
Okay.
Just give me one moment to navigate. All right. Oh, actually, it's the second photo I looked at. What are the chances? Okay, so let me zoom in. So this is the angle. This is actually from April, which is why there's no leaves. So where my cursor is at the bottom, I just am assuming that the 12-inch pipe kind of comes out of that area. But then there was this other rusty, dilapidated looking thing that I was hoping wasn't the one you were referencing.
No. But it could be a good idea. I do believe the 12-inch does outfall within the property limits. So I don't know if we had details, but it's something that we could restore the outfall area to just stabilize that.
Okay, that might have to be a separate conversation, right? Because it looks like I believe those red flags are potentially, they're definitely VW, if not bank. So that would have to be kind of like a separate
discussion. Yeah.
detailed,
Okay.
detailed discussion. Because that would be disturbance directly to that area. So, but yeah, we could talk about that more if the commission wanted to see that.
Yeah, but I think at this point the idea was just to reuse the
Yeah.
outfall, and the 12-inch needs to be relocated slightly, but we would still tie into the existing outfall.
Oh, right. The 12-inch within the like center of the parcel.
Within the site, yes, does need to get adjusted slightly. So we're working with Mass DOT on that because it's within an easement.
Okay. Would you mind sharing your screen again so we could get that overview that you were? Thank you. So does the commission have any questions about the design before we dig into the standard?
So it's a 12-inch pipe. And I know the calculations for some of them were included in the plans, but just to ask those who are more familiar with this, are those in alignment with the standards and requirements for this?
Yeah, I believe
level of storm water?
Mark's kind of main comment that popped out about the stormwater standards to us was stormwater standard 2. Why don't I, I'm going to read it for the commission because I will do a terrible job doing justice to it. Let's see. Okay. So we discussed this a little bit at the last meeting as well. So DEP comment number 2, the commission should carefully review the peak flow rates, existing and proposed conditions, where the post-construction exceeds pre-construction. This is for stormwater standard 2. The commission should note that the existing conditions are based on the previous hotel site, not the site after it was cleared. Per the stormwater report, the site has been demolished. However, prior to that, the site was occupied by a 100-room hotel, which is considered the existing conditions related to stormwater, quote unquote. The commission needs to review if standard number 2 is met. The commission should determine if existing conditions are reviewed as the site is currently, not in the past. And Travis just alluded to this with the test pits as well. What is considered existing. And I did do some research. If the commission would like, I can kind of discuss what I found as it pertains to this. So So Mark reference standard 2 says post-development peak discharge rates do not exceed, standard 2 says they should not exceed pre-development peak discharge rates. And so that would lead us to need to know if you are considering existing conditions as the abandoned site, what are the peak discharge rates of the abandoned site? However, I discovered that standard 7 of the Stormwater Handbook expressly changes the compliance obligation for redevelopment. A redevelopment project is required to meet standard 2 only to the maximum extent practicable. So it kind of, you may want to see those numbers, but there is a level of what is within reason, and have they gone to the best extent possible to reach that standard?
Can I just ask, is that when you said redevelopment, is that riverfront redevelopment? Is that what that means?
Yeah, it's redevelop. Oh, you mean, is there another definition of redevelopment besides? My understanding is that it's for riverfront redevelopment because that's just like with riverfront standards, it's a different situation. They're trying to get an improvement on existing conditions. And so standard 7, in my understanding, exists to do kind of the same thing that the riverfront standards do, to give a little bit of wiggle room with standard number 2.
So I guess my comment would be that for the Wetlands Protection Act, this is not in riverfront area though, only for our local ordinance,
That's true.
because this is an intermittent stream. So the
Wait,
riverfront
so you're-
area is only our local ordinance.
So you're saying that wouldn't the stormwater standards still apply?
Don't our local ordinances apply the standard as though it was the riverfront? Even though
Yeah.
it's not counted as by the state, so we would still
It
have
mirrors
that same.
Yeah, it mirrors the perennial stream standards.
Yeah.
Um,
So then the standard 7 intervention would still
Yeah.
apply because we're basically using the state standards, right? But we're just
Well, if
applying them
standard
to
2
more
applies, then standard
resources.
7 would apply, right?
Yeah.
If standard 2 applies, then standard 7 also applies.
Right.
Well, maybe Chris could talk more about kind of what it would even mean from a development standpoint to meet standard number 2.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where the maximum extent practicable comes in is it a project deal breaker? You know, would all future project potential on that site be stopped because of standard number 2 being really like unattainable to achieve through like financial means that makes sense from, business development standards. So I don't know this stuff. So maybe Chris, are you able to?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about this. So, I mean, you're supposed to meet it to the maximum extent practicable. So on this site, I can say that we did go back to the drawing board and look at the HydroCAD modeling if the existing conditions of the site were actually what's out there in the field today. And the peak flows are still lessened from the existing conditions with this design, with the exception of this. There's a larger drainage area in the middle, and that one, the peak flows do go up with this design a little bit for the 10 and 25 year storm. In order to mitigate that, we'd almost have to double the number of subsurface detention units underground, which is possible. So it's not that it's not possible to meet it. It's just sort of it would be a different modeling exercise, and we would probably rethink kind of how the model is, basically where we're doing, these detention areas. So we'd probably go back to the drawing board and kind of relook at this because the way we approached it was based on the 2018 permit that used the existing conditions as the hotel. So we, kind of followed that line of thinking. So I guess if you all want to decide which way you'd like to regulate it, I think we can meet it either way. It's just a matter of how you're looking at, the site. But it's essentially on this site, it is possible to mitigate the peak flows. It's just a matter of how many subsurface units you put in to do that.
And this is, so I guess the way I'm looking at it is that current conditions are very literal in my mind. Full stop. Current conditions are
Our current-
specifically exactly what's there right now. Try not to be snarky about it, but like, that's my perspective. I don't know if the rest of the commission has thoughts around that particular aspect of it. Travis, you.
I think that makes sense. We wanted you to do the test pits and you did it. We appreciate that. We can see that the area that appears to be disturbed is disturbed. It's not an area of topsoil. One question I want to go back to just clarify is the jurisdictional area. Because when we did the site visit, it was really that eastern parking lot. That was the area that was the riverfront area. And I just want to make sure I understood that properly. And just piece out how the jurisdictional area impacts, how our decisions about that area affect the rest of the project. Is there a distinction? Because not all of it is in the riverfront.
Yeah, so yeah, our jurisdiction is within riverfront, bordering vegetative wetlands, all that. But when there's a stormwater system that drains into
So it's
a
the
resource area,
impact that we're
yeah, it
issue-
just
the issue is.
extends the discussion beyond the jurisdiction when there's a stormwater system that drains into a resource area. So
Okay.
that's the only thing. Like, there's plenty of stormwater systems that don't
Yeah.
cross and so the Concom doesn't discuss those. So that's kind of
But-
why we're going beyond the boundary.
As we just
jurisdictional.
discussed, all of the water that comes through this parking lot and off the roofs and everything goes into the natural system. It goes into,
Yeah.
it doesn't go into it. I mean, there are a couple of discharge areas, but they're minimal. And the main overflow in high flow would be into the
Right,
perennial
you mean
stream.
there's infiltration
Infiltration.
area, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
And then there's the discharge into the intermittent stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That helps me understand. Yeah, I mean, we still have to the extent practicable, but it does seem like we're looking at this under current conditions. The delineation that was done still stands. That's not changed. But the calculations would use these. Chris, do you know to what extent the current system would not be sufficient?
Yeah, so it's just I believe it's just drainage area number 2, which is kind of the central area on the site. And it doesn't work under the 10-year storm and the 25-year storm. But the other 2 discharge points meet the peak flow requirements. So it's really just reworking the system for those larger storms.
Makes sense, and we are seeing larger storms all the time.
Is it like a large difference? Do you have?
I don't have the numbers in front of me of what the peak flow is. I think I didn't run this scenario. Someone else in my office did, but what she told me was that you would basically be doubling this unit here in size in order to meet it.
I see. Okay.
So, it is a significant cost to do that. And the smaller storms are not as much of an issue there. It's really just those, the larger storms.
So who determines what is practicable? I mean, how do we determine what is practicable? I guess is more.
I think all we're responsible for is what Mark said, is saying, what are we counting as current conditions? And then they get to decide what's practical, what they're going to do, and we determine whether what they're going to do meets our requirements. So either they would go back and, double the size of that central one and run it by us, or they would look at something else that maybe would reduce their costs, but that's not our responsibility. That's their planning to do.
And also if, we had questions, since we're not stormwater experts, you know,
Right.
Right.
if we had questions about what was practicable, that's where like a third party review could come in.
Yeah.
If we wanted to ask an expert that we are hiring,
Mhm.
we would hire with their money
Right.
to review it.
Chris, I have another question.
Mm-hmm.
When we did the walk, who was it that walked with us? I can't
Jeff
remember.
Squire.
Oh, it was Jeff, yes. In the general discussion, I had gotten the impression that a lot of the existing network of discharge pipes and things wouldn't be changed. Is that correct? Or will there be, you taking out the pipes and replacing them
So the
under the
all
current?
yeah, under the so everything would be taken out. This 12-inch pipe would be replaced. I mean, everything you see on here is all new infrastructure. The main one is the 60-inch pipe. Wouldn't be touched much. We'd just be connecting to it at 2 points, but that's going to be left mostly alive. It's a 60-inch, very large pipe.
Okay, so it all has to be replaced.
Yes,
is the network-
it's new infrastructure.
Is the network itself the structure, like the shape of it, similar to what was there, or will it be really different from the existing
That's a good question,
discharge system?
actually. I actually don't know the answer to that.
Well, it'll
yeah.
be newly
Yeah,
placed.
it's
Okay.
it's all new except for
Okay.
the 60-inch. I am not. Yeah, I'm actually not sure exactly, given the state of it right now, exactly what was out there when the hotel was there. But I mean,
Right.
there was, there was a pool back here and the parking lot. Everything was different, so
Right.
it's not. It's also old, so it's not really usable.
What I may have been remembering was just that the discharge points would be the same.
The discharge points are all the same. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And then that also clarifies that it's not that we're making you dig it all up and replace everything. That's going to happen no matter what. It's just a matter of what's it going to look like
What goes in?
and what's its volume going to be that it can take on.
So I guess I'm thinking at this point that it sounds like what we're saying is that, for the local ordinance riverfront area, we're considering existing conditions to be what the site looks like right now. And we're, based on the photos that we saw, we'll say, okay, it's degraded where there were buildings and things like that. I feel like, that part of it, I feel like we could have asked for much more detail on, like pits every 3 feet and like try to figure out exactly where degraded areas are. So, I mean, I think if we're using that as existing conditions for that, I think, with the kind of the other part of this is looking at it through the Wetlands Protection Act. And I feel like we should use the same existing conditions for that. So I think I would like to see a new drainage plan based on the existing conditions as they are now that we just discussed that we would be using for the local riverfront area. And trying to meet that, stormwater standard of reducing the peak flows. That's my thinking.
I think that matches our discussion. I agree.
Would that be, Chris, would that be something, like our next meeting is in 2 weeks? Would that be doable in the next 2 weeks, you think, to come back and discuss that?
Yeah, I think that's possible. We really just need to. I mean, the work behind the scenes has already been started, so I mean, I think we're adding more chambers into the subsurface and revising the report for you.
I want to we're done with this request. I would like to just talk about a couple other things, if it's time. Because I just want to make sure we cover as much tonight as possible so we can
Sure.
ask for everything we
Mhm.
need. If we have more things we want to ask for. So can we talk about the erosion control plan? Would you mind
Sure.
discussing that?
I don't know if I have that in my slide deck.
I might have it. I
Do
might have it.
you have it? Yeah, let me just look through. I don't think I do have that. Let me stop sharing.
Just give me a minute to find it. And so. Okay. Okay, let's further. Let me zoom out. At one page. Okay. So, oh, that says existing condition. It didn't say that 2 minutes ago. Oh, here we go. Okay. Chris, can you see that?
I can, yep.
I believe this is the erosion control plan.
It is, yep. There's basically just perimeter controls.
So what the proposal is basically just put perimeter all the way around the site and that's it, right?
Yep, a construction entrance. Yeah, and fencing and erosion control around the site, yeah.
So the discussion of the stormwater system got me thinking about the outfall area for the 12-inch pipe. Because if you're replacing that pipe, it sounds like that would be a decent amount of disturbance to the 25-foot no disturb zone. Is that correct? Because I don't recall seeing in the application much discussion about that.
Yeah, so I think we're actually keeping, I think I misspoke before that we, could rebuild the outfall if you wanted that, but the proposal now is to reuse what's there. So the limit of so the erosion control and the limit of disturbance is, I don't have my mouse, but that dashed line
Yeah.
would be the essential limit of where we're going. So we're not going down the slope. We're going to just connect into that outfall.
Okay.
Because I think it's in okay shape. We would probably leave it if it weren't for the configuration of the site and the building being sited right on top of it where it is now. So that's why we're relocating it.
Okay. Another, does the commission have any questions about erosion controls?
I guess the only other thing I was just gonna ask about was, I don't see any, I was trying to look to see if there was a specific areas where like soil was gonna.
Are they frozen? Okay. You're not hearing anything though. Okay. Yeah, it looks like we lost the whole room. Okay.
I hope not. I don't want to wait this long and nothing happens. Mine's a little bit down the docket.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Hi, Chris, can you hear us?
Yeah. Okay, you're back.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know what happened. Our Zoom iPad shut down and the
Something-
TV restarted. So
Well, luckily, my seemed to have taken over as host, so we didn't actually lose. the
I'm on it
Zoom.
too as well.
Good.
Yay. Okay.
I can continue my question. That I was
Yeah.
saying that I didn't see if there was a specific like soil stockpiling area during construction, and usually we ask for those to be outside of resource areas, riverfront area.
Sure. Yeah, that's something that we would typically be putting on our construction drawings.
Okay.
And not at this level of drawing, but we also will provide the contractor with a construction period, erosion and sedimentation control plan, which will have all that in it. So yes,
To include-
aware of it,
okay.
but not shown, because there wouldn't be one stockpile location. You know, they'll be using different areas of the site. But definitely no equipment and materials to be stockpiled within the wetland buffer.
Something we talked about including in future projects of this scale was to have some entity responsible for checking on it frequently
Like a third party.
and then enforcing it with consequences.
Yeah, so there'd be a soil erosion report on a regular interval. And that person would be able to check on it and make sure repairs are being made to any broken, silt fencing or compromised erosion controls.
Yep. Yeah, we do that for many of our clients. So
Great.
And did you want to discuss the details of our requirements around? This right now,
No,
or
I
is
just
that-
wanted to bring the discussion to this because this is something we talk about. And because my goal was that if we were going to continue to another meeting, that we ask them as much as we possibly can ask them for out of this meeting, just to be efficient with the following meeting. Are we done with the erosion controls? Okay.
Yep.
The other question I had is I saw somewhere in this submission that the contractor would be notified of which trees to cut and which trees to leave. And I didn't see any page that discussed what trees were staying. I know that on our site visit, Jeff Squire brought it up, or we brought it up, and he talked about it. So I
Okay.
was wondering if that could be more clear for the next meeting too, because I think some of these larger trees are probably contributing to the stability of the bank of that intermittent stream, and I
Okay.
think that it'd be good to know if any of them are being cut, and so that there could be requests for maybe conditions around that or replacement.
Sure. Yep, I'll let him know. So basically, probably on this demo plan would be a tree protection and clearing. So identifying, and is there a certain size tree that you deem significant?
Maybe 12
Yeah.
inches diameter or larger.
Yeah, I believe in our other conditions that reference this, it was 8-inch
8-inch.
8-inch or more.
DBH.
Okay.
greater. Right? That sound familiar? Yeah.
Sounds right.
Yeah. What'd you say?
That-
I said sounds right.
Okay.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
look that up and confirm it, but
Okay.
I guess you would need to know that so that you could.
Maybe
mark-
we're going to get to this, Jessica, but Jeff had talked about the planting plan as well in terms of whether it was regional native or specific to the county, and had indicated that they would do all they could to, within the resource areas or the buffer areas, stick to the county, but that at the other areas, there might be, they were asking for more latitude, given the stresses on species, to be able to have a broader choice of species to use for stress resistance.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure that I think that was mentioned, but we didn't really discuss it last time. So
Yeah.
if we have concerns,
Yes, I echo that concern. Anything within the resource area should be,
Yeah.
as we have required with all other projects, Franklin County specific.
Okay.
so it sounds like that was the plan.
I think he
Yes,
did.
all
He
native.
didn't. Yeah, he didn't mention that to me, but he did include the landscaping plan. So I wonder if it's already been updated. But I'll be sure and
Okay.
make sure that that's been updated to reflect that before the next meeting.
It just did confirm it is 8 inches or greater.
8 inches.
in
Okay. Thank you.
DPH.
Okay, so resource area plantings, Franklin County. So I have the demo plan with the 8-inch or more trees specifically called out, the resource area plantings to be Franklin County specific, and then updating the stormwater report for the peak flow mitigation under the existing conditions.
And as it relates to removal, do we want to request one-to-one replacement, or should we just discuss that at a later time at this point?
For trees that are cut down.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't there like recommendations in the regs of a ratio? I wish I knew it off the top of my
I know.
head, but I feel like there's something.
In the past, we have requested 1-to-1 ratio of
Okay.
8-inch diameter or greater, and that they're monitored for 3 years with 80% survival rate.
Okay, great.
But we can discuss that in more detail next meeting. I just think it'd be good to see in a document what they're planning to cut and what will stay.
Yep.
Let's see if there's anything else. If anyone else has something, so I'm just reviewing my notes a little bit.
Those are all the items that I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that's everything on my list that I wanted to bring up.
Right. Any?
Chris, is there anything else that you have in your plans that you feel like would be valuable to discuss tonight in case there's constructive feedback for requests?
No, I think that was everything on my list.
I think just given that we got feedback from the public last time, I'm sure that all that's being taken into account by the owners of the land or the developers, but some of the themes that seemed really important were just the closeness of the property to the nearby neighborhood. So I would imagine impacts of sound and traffic were what they were concerned about. So any of those that can be incorporated into future plans, or, you know, if there's plantings that affect privacy and reduce noise. I know I live right next to a gas station and I really love the shrubbery that helps us not have as much light and sound in our property. So anything that can be done, not in our jurisdiction, but just wanted to give this as an opportunity for that to be part of the plans, since people did come last time and
Yep.
spoke up.
Okay, noted.
And any other further questions, comments, or concerns? If not, at this point, Chris, we would ask that you kindly.
Sorry, we should ask if there are any public comments again.
Oh, yeah.
There are some people online.
Oh, yes. Well, good point. Is there anybody here who would like to ask questions or make a comment as it relates to this particular project? Hearing none. Chris, at this point, we would ask that you kindly request a continuance to our next meeting so that we can do so.
All right. Yeah. Could we have a continuance to the next meeting, which I believe is on the 25th?
Yes, Tuesday, the 25th at 6:30.
Okay. Great.
All right, I'll move to continue this notice of intent, DEP file number 1680367 to our next meeting, August 25th, 2026 at 6:30 PM.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, the motion passes. Thanks, Chris.
Okay. Thank you so much, Chris.
Okay, up next. We have no new business, but in our old business category, we have a request for partial certificate of compliance, 290 Shelburne Road, DEP number 168-0364, expires 6/3/2028, stream bank restoration.
Okay. Dale Putnam is online joining us tonight. I think he's eager to discuss this partial certificate of compliance.
Good evening, all.
Hello.
Hello.
I want to remind the commission that this request for a partial certificate of compliance was submitted this spring. And the as-built plans were submitted and we reviewed them, and also the site photos and the commission, the two requests, all right, the request was denied due to two requests by the commission. One was this particular area downstream hadn't been fully vegetated, and so they wanted to give a bit more time for that to establish. And then the second one was letting the spring fully run its course to ensure that the stream bank was in good working condition at the end of that season. So Dale is here tonight to address those two requests. I went out to the site. Actually, I went out, I think in July, and that one little area of vegetative cover was still a little sparse. And so Dale spread some seed, and I can bring up the site visit photos and share my screen, but it looks really good. Super vegetated. One moment, let me get them in the proper order. Okay, let's see. And
Oh my gosh.
nonstop.
Nice.
Okay. So this is the stormwater system that is upstream from the bank restoration. So this is, that thick well and knotweed. On the other side is the stream, and then the bank is down here downstream. So the stormwater system looks really good, really clean. I kind of pivoted. The stormwater swale continues down to the left. Here are some of the plantings. We'll go back. So the plantings all look really good. I think I just saw one that had died, but everything else looks really healthy. Beautiful day. Okay, so mainly I focused on taking photos of the stream bank, the actual bank where the green armor was installed, and then the downstream part was really just the vegetated cover. So I know it's really awkward when you're bending down under knotweed and like trying to take the photo. I don't know if it rotated or if that was just, I don't know. Anyway, this area that's not covered in knotweed is the part that was replaced.
Mhm.
And then there we go. That's a little better. So if you recall, I had come to the commission earlier because Dale was concerned about the thickness of the knotweed getting weighed down by the rain. So this is what he's up against. So it's really hard to get clear photos with all the knotweed. I actually am pushing some away to get this photo. Okay.
May I add something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I know I talked to you, Jessica, and you talked to the commission, sent me an email that they approved of me cutting it, but I have to get permission. As you know, that's not our property. So I've
Right.
just been super busy, haven't had a chance. We do plan on getting in there and knocking it back, but I just haven't got to it. We're trying to maintain our side because it keeps popping up everywhere on our side too. So just want to let you know that.
Okay, I'm gonna try to zoom in. Ooh.
Nice, great
this is-
resolution.
Ooh, look at that.
This is my
Grapevine and
okay, here, let
knotweed.
me- there we go.
Enhance.
Well, what you can see in this photo is that it is highly vegetated.
Yep.
Okay, so there is no loose soil.
Great.
Okay, so this is a bit more of the downstream area. As you can see, vegetated, you can see some of the plantings to the left, right here. I'd mentioned a couple meetings ago that they did have a flood. And so you can see little
bit, yeah.
stone deposits.
That's great.
Yeah.
That floodplain is working.
So let's see. That is part of the area we had talked about getting more vegetation. And then you can see the plantings up here. They all look spectacular. There again.
Happy little joke.
Yeah, they're happy. Okay, so this is looking upstream, and this is the area. So this area was
That was
a
pretty.
bit sparse.
Yeah.
So it actually looks really, really nice. It's like a little wildflower garden.
Gorgeous. I love it. And rabbit's foot clover and black-eyed Susan.
Yeah,
It's fabulous.
so that was the area of concern this spring. And so I'm standing on that concrete bridge. And yeah, it looks really good.
It looks substantially better. And it
Yeah,
looks,
there's
like
all plantings.
I don't
And-
see any bare areas now.
Yeah, I can go back to any photo you guys might want me to. But what I wanted to clarify, so this is a partial certificate of compliance. The remainder that wouldn't be voted on tonight is the plantings we had in the special conditions. Sorry, I wrote it down. I want to make sure I'm that
Maintain 80% till 28.
yes, for 3 years. So it would be that Dale, the applicant, would come back fall 2028 for the full certificate of compliance.
Jessica, do you remember where that plant was that died? Because I didn't notice that any had died. I'll double check them, but I didn't
Well-
notice anything had.
I'm sorry, what's your question?
You mentioned that one plant wasn't doing well. I hadn't noticed that. I'll take a double look at that, but
Oh, yeah, that one I believe was in that upper parking lot area.
Oh, okay.
And
Right.
I didn't take a photo of it. I
yeah,
just
that's no problem.
glanced over and I was like, oh, there's one. I should have taken a photo, but
So-
I was more focusing on the bank at that moment.
I'm there a little more than you are, so I can look at it.
Yeah. So that was where it was.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns?
So one question, just procedurally, I was looking at the special conditions just to see like which ones were ongoing and whatever. So that yeah, as you said, there's that one, all plantings shall be monitored for 3 years with replacements made for a minimum of 80% retention. That one is a special condition only under the ordinance and not under, according to the order of
Oh.
conditions, it's only for the ordinance and not for the Wetlands
Because it's
Protection
an
Act.
intermittent stream.
I think so. So I think that only apply, I don't think we have like a certificate of compliance for our ordinance. Do we?
Do we
or-
have people provide two separate NOIs? Or is it one
No,
file?
usually it's
One,
one.
if it's like state jurisdiction, it's just one. And it includes both. But then if it's just ours, it's also just one. So, but there
Okay.
has to be 2 votes if it's both,
Okay.
you know. So for like 125 Mohawk, there will have to be 2 votes. One for the ordinance. But then I usually just bundle it into one order of conditions, and then like Travis said, I'll separate out which conditions are for which. So as far as a certificate of compliance, for just the ordinance, I would think, yes, we would have to, because it is registered at the Registry of Deeds, and they need the certificate of compliance to remove that, whatever the lien that it creates.
Yeah, that's where the error happened last time is I had complied to everything conservation wanted, but because that upper area, I didn't have proof that they had released me and as a whole new board member. So that's the reason why all that planting was put back in, because we had to plant a lot more than what was needed for this particular, but because it wasn't cleared from the earlier compliance, we added that to this one. That's what happened. You remember that, Jessica?
Yes, yes. So I think that it would still be a partial tonight.
Right. That's
as-
my understanding, was a
Yeah.
partial for the riverbank restoration, but not the complete compliance with planting.
And I would send that, regardless, I would send that to the state, but then even though they don't need to see the full one because their version of events is totally complied with, I still think that we would just go through like the normal process so that when the full one was issued, that would be submitted to the Registry of Deeds. Otherwise, I feel like we would have had to do 2 separate things at the Registry of Deeds so that they got the full compliance for the state portion
Mhm.
and then the full compliance for the the Greenfield
Mhm.
jurisdiction ordinance portion. And if that's something, that you guys would want to see changed up, we could talk about that too, like outside of this.
At another meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted
If that
to-
makes sense to do
Yeah, yeah.
it differently that way, we could talk about that.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask because, for the Wetlands Protection Act, this is fully compliant with
Yeah.
every condition.
Right.
So I just wanted to make sure we were doing it right. But
Yeah.
because I don't think we've had, this is the first one I can remember where we've issued a certificate of compliance for everything except one condition that was only under the ordinance. I don't think I'd ever seen that
Right.
before, so it's kind of a specific scenario. But yeah,
Well, yeah, okay, sorry.
that's fine. Yeah, I'm
Digress.
fine with doing it that way. Yeah. But yeah, I was looking at this and I was just going to point out to the commission that there are some ongoing conditions that we should mention in the partial certificate of compliance. Number 72, which is just that once all the grading and once everything is stabilized, it should remain stabilized essentially. That's an ongoing condition. And then in perpetuity, numbers 74 through 80, which are, I'll just do the names of them here. Dumping prohibited, additional alteration prohibited, mowing or vegetation management prohibited. That's specifically within wetlands. Stabilized slopes shall be maintained as designed and constructed. Pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and fertilizers prohibited. Native plant species planted within resource areas, and non-native and invasive plant species monitoring and management. that should be continued. So just pointing out that those should be included in the certificate of compliance.
Can I just make mention here? Because my understanding was the partial compliance that I'm asking for would give us basically the clearance that we complied with what was required by the state. From there out, it's more of just a planting and vegetation situation. Because as you know, that's a stormwater can wipe that whole bank out again and downstream. And are you saying now I'd be responsible for that unavoidable natural disaster that would happen? Though I've gone to the extreme to take care of it? I mean,
I don't.
that's what
I
I'm
think.
saying. You follow?
Yeah.
I'm asking that. It's
Sorry.
that
Sorry. No.
was not a cheap repair, and we did it
Yeah,
per
yeah.
requirement of, because we had one application with the state and they refused that, and then they accepted this one. So I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that I don't want to chase this for 20 years. You know, is what I'm saying. It's just we want to comply. We felt we did due diligence to take care of things as quick as possible and to the required specifications. So that's why I'm asking. That's all. I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm just
Yeah.
my business quite, so I'm kind of lost a little bit as to some of these details. So
Yeah. So all of these are just standard conditions that exist in perpetuity. And I mean, just to summarize, essentially they're just saying you can't go in and make any more alterations to this area without filing with us first. I mean, if a natural disaster happens and, things wash away,
right,
that's different. But it's essentially saying you can't go in and start
changing what's there.
You have to
Right.
file with us again if you're going to do anything else.
No, I don't plan on it. Believe me. It's not my weekend project that I want. Believe me. So
Yeah, and the certificate of compliance also is stating that you complied with the order of conditions that was issued.
right. Okay. All right. I just want to be clear. That's all. I don't want, any misunderstanding. So on either side.
Yeah.
Any further questions, concerns? In that case, I do believe at this point we can vote to issue a partial certificate of compliance. Can I?
I'll move to issue a partial certificate of compliance for 290 Shelburne Road, DEP file number 1680364 for stream bank restoration. This would include ongoing conditions 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, and 80. And this would exclude the work. Hold on. Let me get this right. This shall exclude special condition under the Greenfield Wetlands Protection Ordinance number 6, which is all plantings shall be monitored for 3 years with replacements made for a minimum of 80% retention.
Well said. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right. All those in
A
favor?
very, very long motion.
Aye.
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 The motion passed.
Okay, thanks, Dale. I will be in touch with the paperwork. And yeah, appreciate you waiting.
No, I
This-
appreciate you taking care of this. I know you got a full docket, but I thank you for squeezing this in tonight.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. Pleasure working with you people. Okay.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.
Okay, up next, request for certificate of compliance. 1245 Berniston Road, local NOI expires 4/12/26, extension 4/12/28, solar development.
Okay. Moving on. This project is applying for a full certificate of compliance. Melinda Costello from Weston and Sampson is on tonight, and seems like our timing worked out well.
I just switched over from my other meeting. I've been monitoring this one on my phone. If you have something else to jump to and want to just give me a minute to jump over on Zoom on my computer. I don't want to waste your time. So if there's something else that you want to take ahead of me, feel free, and I'll jump back on when I get on my computer here.
There are two other items that we could discuss.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we could
Okay.
give a little more time.
Yep. Specifically, land donation discussion, a potential addition to Conti Golly Conservation Area, Assessor's Map Parcel R37-56-0, agent to update the Conservation Commission on research for demolition.
Okay.
Sorry,
Oh.
before you get into it, can you
Yeah.
just provide a very brief background for our new commissioner?
Oh, yes. So, we have this great new conservation area that was established like last year, maybe. There's two residents of Greenfield that donated, between the two of them, 3 different parcels that were shared a border in some way. And it was 35 acres, I believe. And it's named the Conti Golly Conservation Area. And it's super special. It's in southwest Greenfield off Mohawk Trail on
Off
it's
a summit.
there's a mount, yeah, off a summit. There's
Going up the fall, towards the falls.
it's like it is a mountain or hill with very shallow bedrock, and I think it might be called Greenfield Mountain. I'm not totally sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, so the update is that one of the brothers of one of the donators also has a parcel up there that abuts this conservation area, and he is trying to donate it to the city. And it's 11 acres. So it would turn the Conti Golly Conservation Area into close to 44, 45 acres, if my math is correct, which is really exciting. But we are coming up against a bit of a roadblock because there is a very small hunting cabin-y camp up there, and it needs to come down for liability purposes. And the mayor has stated her support for getting this land into conservation, but would like the cabin to not be there when that happens. The owner of the property lives in Eastern Mass and is probably not capable of getting the demo to happen. And so we've been trying to come up with creative solutions so that it's not a total deal breaker, because I think all sides want it to happen. So I was tasked with getting quotes for demos, which is, I mean, maybe I gave too much information when I requested because people are not calling me back. Because I thought maybe, telling them a bit about it, I think it maybe came off as sounding like a pain because it's like not right off the road. It's a woods road to get there, maybe tight for like a dump truck. My husband works in construction, and so I thought maybe I could get him to give me a lead on demo people that might feel obligated to get back to me because they have a working relationship with him. But then he was asking me questions that I couldn't really answer, and so him and I were going to go up there together with his truck so that he could see the dimensions of the road, the clearance, all, and that he could actually have a constructive conversation with these potential demo people. And to be clear, my husband does not do demo. He would not benefit from this in any way, but he does have connections in the industry that maybe would get us someone to actually call back. So that's, I wanted to get up there this weekend, but it was my daughter's birthday and it just didn't happen.
No.
So that's kind of the update on the demo part. But the other creative solution that was discussed was, if possible, would the fire department be interested in using this as a training opportunity and just burn it down and then the rubble would be able to be more easily removed. I have been in touch with the fire department, and there has been information exchanged, and the information I got was that he would definitely need to go out and see it. But I was upfront, like, you know, it's off the beaten path in the woods, and you know, there's not hydrants. So I didn't know if that would be a deal breaker. I haven't heard back from him, but he wanted to assess the safety level before moving forward. And there would be many other steps before. It's not just a matter of him being like, yeah, this would work. There would be a lot of steps involved with that, going through whatever approval process it would need to go through. But the first step would at least be getting him out there. I just haven't heard back if I wanted to be extra clear with him, because it would be, I don't want to waste his time if that's like for sure, like hands down, not gonna work. Yeah, so that's my update.
Okay.
And then I think the CPA thing, there was an update on that since our last meeting too, where at the CPC, we had discussed, did this already happen since the last meeting? At the
I'm like,
CPC
was there
Yeah, so at the CPC meeting, we had discussed, like, could we use CPA money to pay to demolish this? And essentially they're like, yeah, it seems like you probably could be able to do that. And then they were gonna reach out to the, I can't remember what it's called right now, the Community Preservation Coalition, to get like their input, their advice on it. And essentially they came back and said, it all depends on whether the CPC considers it creation or rehabilitation. And at the CPC meeting, they were leaning towards the creation. That's what they said. Like, you know, this seems like it would fit under creation and it would work. And so I emailed, you know, the chair of CPC and just said, based on what he said, and at our meeting, we said it was creation, so that seems like it's a go, and they basically said, yeah. So if we do, you know, we have that $20,000 in CPA money that could be used if we can get a quote to actually do it. Once we own the property, then we could use CPA money.
Gotcha.
Also, Millie, that we just received $20,000 in CPA funds to go into the conservation fund. And so that was the other kind of creative, like, could we use that money to pay for the demo after the land was acquired? So that would be, if we got a quote that was within reason and we could use the CPA funds to do that, then it would be a matter of, you know, putting it for the mayor and the city council that we acquire the land with the cabin and then we demo it after that with our funds. But this is all hinging on a quote and maybe the fire department. So that's the update.
Great. Progress, if slow, but progress nonetheless. We'll get there.
Like, do we just rent a backhoe? Drive it up there.
All right, let's bump back up
Well,
to Melinda.
Oh, are you ready, Melinda? Are you still on? You ready?
Ready? Yep.
Oh, great. Okay. Okay. So, Melinda Costello is here from Weston Sampson to discuss the request for certificate of compliance for 1245 Bernardston Road, which was a local notice of intent, and also answer any questions that the commission has. We received as-built plans, the letter of compliance. I'll just touch on real quick that I visited the site many times throughout construction, and I was always impressed with the state of the erosion controls compared to some of the other larger construction sites I went to. I also saw them actively fixing things. I determined that all the special conditions were met, but there were some discrepancies on the as-built plans that Melinda can address tonight.
Yes, thank you. Would you like me to share my screen and just go over
Please.
the changes kind of from what you guys saw versus what we have on the as-built? Okay.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Is this loaded for you guys?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, so on the left side of my screen is the as-built plan, and then on the right-hand side is just the letter that I'll run through. So the first change that we highlighted in our compliance letter was at the at the entrance of the site. There was a culvert crossing that was installed that is within the buffer zone that collects stormwater runoff from a roadside swale that was also included in the issue for construction plans that was not presented in the issue for permitting plans that went in front of the Conservation Commission during the permitting process during the NOI. So during construction, the reason for the change was based on discussions with the contractor and runoff from the hillside. They requested that we design an upgradient roadside swale to collect that runoff before it wash over the access road to just help mitigate the runoff standpoint from that hillside. So a swale was graded on the upgradient side of the road. The stormwater runoff is collected and it's diverted at two different locations. The first is culvert crossing number 2, which is referenced in point number 2, and culvert crossing number 1, which is the 24-inch culvert. So the intent of these two culvert crossings was to keep the intent of the overall stormwater management system that was designed during permitting and approved by the Conservation Commission, to keep the intent of the design consistent. So this upper culvert was installed to keep the watershed runoff of what was going to DB1 the same. So this portion of the hillside was always intended to run across the road and go into the basin, where this portion, the down gradient portion of the access road, was it was not meant to go into that basin. So we didn't want to overload the basin with additional runoff. So that stormwater runoff was collected in a swale and then diverted across underneath the access road into a riprap apron, and it dissipates offsite ahead of the wetland area. All of that area, all of that runoff is from an earthen condition. It's a hillside that has established vegetation. There's no runoff associated with that discharge that is untreated from impervious areas that would require water quality volume. And like I said, the upper portion of the runoff is just diverted across the access road and does discharge into the stormwater basin, and the flows associated with it remain consistent with what was proposed during the permitting design that was submitted and approved by the commission. So those were the first two bullet items. There was a change with the sizing of the detention basin just based on construction and how they physically constructed the basin. There were some differences, and the overall footprint of the basin did increase. The bottom of the basin is a little bit smaller, but the overall footprint of the basin is larger. And again, the stormwater flows associated with it remain consistent with the design that was approved during the permitting process. Other differences noted with the stormwater basin is there was just additional riprap in the sediment forebay associated with the as-built conditions, and then the spillway, they installed some additional riprap along the berm of the basin going to the outfall versus what was proposed. going back to the letter. So again, associated with the access road, there was an additional small 4-inch drainage pipe that was installed to relieve some runoff associated with the electrical conduit. It was a change that we highlighted that was not included in the permitting design, but does not impact the overall intent or design associated with the system. And then the last change was this swale associated with upgrading of the equipment pad, just runoff from the hillside what is being captured in a swale that diverts it from the equipment pad area and goes around, and eventually it goes into the roadside swale that leads to DB1. And again, the intent of that was just to prevent some additional runoff going to the equipment pad area and divert that around the pad area. And then the overall layout of the system, there were some minor changes associated with the array during construction and the final rocking design. So the array footprint was 5.37 in the IFC plan set, and the final footprint in actually installed as shown on the as-built plan was 5.08 acres. So those were the changes summarized in the letter. I'm happy to go over any of those in additional detail. If you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Melinda. If you could stop sharing your screen, I'm going to share the as-built with the jurisdictional boundaries so that the commission can see kind of where, because sometimes it's hard to see where on these plans is within the jurisdiction. So these plans were actually a previous as-built. There's a few updates to like pipe sizes, just corrections, but the plan itself is accurate. So basically, this is the entrance to the site, and the pink is the 100-foot boundary, and the green is the wetland. So the first culvert that Melinda was discussing that was not on the approved plans crosses over the 100-foot buffer, but it does not cross over the 25-foot no disturb zone. And then the detention basin is here. So that change is something that happened within the 100-foot buffer zone. So those changes are more pertinent to the Concom's attention. But again, neither change had a negative impact on the stormwater numbers, and also neither change crossed into the 25-foot no disturb zone. So those are some things I would like to point out. Melinda discussed this swale that is on the upper hillside of the access road. That was not on the approved plans. And this addition was a positive benefit for stormwater runoff because it intercepted the water that came off this hillside before it hit the dirt road. And so this hillside is fully vegetated, and they installed this culvert here because they, I guess, modeled the, hydrology numbers, and they had designed the basin to include the runoff in this other part of the hill. And so they captured that runoff that they were already calculating to treat in the basin with this culvert. And then the other part of the hill gets, the runoff from the other part of the hill gets captured in that swale down and goes under the culvert and into that outfall area. So the other jurisdictional areas are up the road. There's like a landing pad over here. So again, green is wetland, blue is bank, pink is the 100-foot buffer zone, and yellow is riverfront area. So the change up here that was different was this swale that addressed some runoff from the I actually don't know if it was from the road or the hill.
It's capturing it from the hillside to divert it around the equipment pad area was the intent.
Okay. So I have photos of it, but it does end like right here, and which is just at the edge of where the riverfront. So I do not believe, because the riverfront, you can see there's a dash, dash, dash. That's what I'm highlighting. And this right here is the end of the swale. So again, I think that this deviation is a buffer zone deviation, and not a riverfront area deviation. And then there were no deviations to this part of the plan, but this was in jurisdiction. This is a detention basin, and it crosses into buffer zone and riverfront area. And there's swales that run the edge of the property and go into the stormwater basin. And then I'll just climb up the edge of the property here, and the swales really just run the boundary. And then up here. So the footprint ended up being slightly less acreage, and there were no deviations in this solar array portion of the plan besides the footprint being slightly less. But the main deviations, again, was the swale that kind of abuts that riverfront boundary into 100-foot buffer zone, and then the culverts and detention basin down here within the buffer zone. So I just wanted to point out the jurisdictional areas so that you can see kind of with those deviations, where does that intersect jurisdiction? And I'm gonna stop sharing unless you guys want me to keep this up for a minute.
If you leave it, I just have a question. Melinda, what was the reason, or what were the prompts that made these changes necessary? Was there a realization that when they did the work on the ground, that the impact on the resource areas was too high, or was it a threat to the infrastructure, or what went into that logic-wise?
So the change at the down gradient area, that 24-inch culvert that was installed at the access road, that was more of a just both to like overall impacts to protecting the perimeter of the site and the resources there, as well as the access road. Putting in an up gradient roadside swale and intercepting that runoff and some potential seepage from the hillside, and collecting it and diverting it underneath the access road at the entrance just helps from a long-term O&M maintenance standpoint of potential erosion and scouring and runoff going across that access road, creating potential like sediments and gravel load that either wash off and end up on your hillside on the down gradient side of the road, or ends up in the basin, causing maintenance issues down the road. So it was really just to help divert some of that stormwater in a matter that wasn't overly impactful to the surrounding area either. So a small roadside swale with a culvert discharging to a large riprap apron up gradient of a wetland system, we thought that was the best change for that area. And then in regards to the swale that kind of abuts the riverfront area at the upgradient edge of the site, that one was to protect the infrastructure and just again to divert as much stormwater as we could around the equipment pad area and limit the amount of run-on from stormwater that the equipment pad area would see during higher storm events to keep it a little bit drier or a less water impact.
Great, thank you.
I'm happy to run through the photos from the site visit too.
Sure.
All right. Okay, so this is, so basically when I arrived, I drove all the way up the road to the equipment pad landing. And we started the site visit there and we walked like along the perimeter of the site, going up like the kind of hugging the left and going clockwise around the boundary. So this is where kind of actually you can't see it, but this is basically right where the swale, the unplanned swale meets buffer zone. At this moment, I did not know that that was what had happened. So I don't have, like, that wasn't what I was taking a picture of. I was just, this was more just like the erosion controls. That's why this picture is here. So that is also not within the project boundary, but that's just like the owner of the land has a lot of trash right there. But not a Weston Sampson thing to talk about, just more my observation that that's an issue. Right. Oh, my mouse is. Okay. So this is the swale that comes down the roadside. Oh gosh, what is going on? Okay. And this where so basically there's a road that was it was not designed as a road, it's just what the trucks were using to like get up and around, but it's meant to be field, it's just growing. So we walked up this road and I was taking pictures of erosion control. So there's going to be a lot of like silt fencing in these first. Do you see how it's like doing floating? Like I'm not in control of the mouse. So erosion controls. There's the top of the swale. There's a little bit of rutting in the edge of the road there, which the person who walked with me explained that the swale was in an effort to prevent the rutting. So that was right where it started. So I imagine that that rutting is because it just started there and it not above there. Again, erosion controls. Some of them have fallen down, but construction's not going on anymore. Again, this is the truck road along the fencing. Everything is very vegetated under the solar panels. That's what these photos are meant to show. I'm now at the upper part of the hill. It's the north, gosh, is it north? I'm basically at the top of the hill where the parcel takes a 90-degree turn, and then I'm going to walk along the edge. And I actually think this is the part that borders Griswold.
I was wondering.
Again, a lot of grass. Okay, so there is a swale in this kind of darker green area. That is a swale. And they have periodic physical barriers to stop like very fast moving water, kind of be like the break the momentum of the water. Again, the swale. This is, if you recall, the area of the plans that didn't have any deviations that were along the solar array, but were in riverfront area and buffer zone. This is the wetland in that area. There were a lot of just like an observation, and I know this happens with projects when they take down a lot of trees on a hill. There were a lot of like down trees just from the wind.
Yeah.
Technically outside the limit of disturbance. Okay, so I walked further down the hill. I'm getting closer to the detention basin that again didn't have deviations, but was at the intersection of two riverfront areas and buffer zone.
And while we're looking at these, does the commission have any other questions or comments based on what Melinda
Oh.
had presented? Whoops.
I didn't mean to, I have more photos that just got me out.
I guess if it's possible, if you have any pictures that show the areas of deviation, that'd be helpful.
I do, yeah. Yeah, I do. We're getting there.
Big area to cover.
Yeah, we saw these already, so I'm just gonna cruise by. That was just one of the physical barriers that slow down the water as it's going through the swale towards the detention basin. And here is the basin, growing some reeds. These all just came in naturally. The one at the beginning of the road also had quite a bit of.
Like there's native grasses there. I don't know if that's little bluestone on the far side or like that brown.
Why is my mouse? Where?
Close to the fence here, the like reddish brown.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like it might be native grasses back
They
there.
did do a conservation seed mix.
Okay.
So yeah, this is the detention basin. A lot of plants growing. They all came in on their own. There is I don't know the actual term for it, but that concrete conical structure where the water goes in after it gets to a certain height. And
That's our outlet control structure,
yeah, and then that riprap
the spillway.
spillway behind it. And
What's the pipe laid down to?
I took a picture of that. There we go. Okay, so that is, I believe I would have to pull up the jurisdictional map again, but I believe that's wetland right on. Yeah.
Is this where it abuts or is this a different area?
The detention basin is located kind of smack in between where riverfront areas like merge. But I believe that the wetland like kind of comes under, but I'll pull that up again so we can because that area beyond the fence looks like it could be wetlands just in the photo.
It looks like Madison raised their hand. There was
Um,
a notification from Zoom.
okay, we could address questions.
We don't have any raised hand. Melinda, did you have something you wanted to add?
Nope, I'm all set.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe it was by accident.
There's another person on, Madison Schofield.
We're not in a point where we're taking public comment right now.
Okay, great.
Okay, so there's the drainage pipe. It comes up below on the riprap. And it spills over those rocks and drains into the area below.
Is the fence basically the boundary of the property, or is it within the?
I think it's just the boundary of the solar site because the property is much bigger and they're leasing the land from the owner.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
I think the part that borders Griswold, it's pretty close to the edge.
Yeah, it's sort of visible from one of the trails. You can see
Yeah.
the break in the trees.
Yeah, but the area where those first photos I took that show like debris, I believe it extends quite a bit in that direction. Okay, sorry for the angle, but that is where the water comes out. And now we just walked along the fence all the way back to, wait, where's the arrow? 6238. Oh, good. Okay. This is riverfront area and buffer zone, so. All the fencing looks really good. And that's looking back towards the detention basin. And this is looking forward in the direction we're walking to the equipment pad. And we're getting there. Okay, so there's the equipment pad, or actually, is that what that's called? I kind of pictured construction equipment, but
Yep, that's the equipment area.
that's the equipment area. Okay, and then here's, you can see the swale kind of coming down there. Okay, so then they have a fence up for security purposes. And you can see the swale, and that's like right where the swale ends, basically. And so that's looking up to the fence. So we're, at this point, we're looking at jurisdictional area, like the buffer zone kind of comes up here a bit. But generally everything is in the woods. The jurisdiction is in the woods. And we can revisit the jurisdictional map I highlighted now that you have a bit of a reference. All right, so this is just, we're walking down the road now. We're going down towards the deviations. And I was just clocking the, oh, that's so much easier. Okay. This is just a culvert on the road down that was for a access road to the owner's property. So that's not the one in jurisdiction. It honestly was like such a pretty view too when we were going down. So This is a swale that's going down on the lower hill side of the road. This one was planned. Still part of the swale. Okay, so now we're at the portion of the road where we start getting into the deviations on the as-bills. So the swale you're looking at on the uphill side of the road was not planned. So that cruises down for a bit. And then there's, I believe the first culvert is right about
Correct.
here, maybe?
Yep.
And that brings it under the road and into the detention basin, which we'll have photos of. There's the entrance to it. And the exit. And that is the detention basin in like the distance beyond the culvert. It's very vegetated, lots of things growing. So you can see, I don't know if you can see the contours, but you know, the road is right here and then it slopes down. And then this zone is the basin. You can see the, again, the conical concrete structure in the distance. And here's a better angle. Okay, so this is, I believe that, well, this is the uphill swale, and I'm continuing to walk downhill. And this is the unplanned culvert that goes under the road at the very entrance to, and this is the outfall. So that's the outfall and kind of where the water goes. So this depression is on the other side of the berm, of the far side of the basin, right? So like the Bernardston Road is here, there's like a wetland, and then there's space, and then it goes up with the berm, and then the basin's here, right? So this is draining on the far side of the berm. Okay. Oops. I think that was the last photo.
During your visit, did you see any indication that any orders of condition had not been?
No. Besides that, there were deviations from the approved plans, like that in itself. All the other conditions were met. And I also had positive site visits, but I didn't realize during my visits that there were things that were going on that weren't on the approved plans. But I am encouraged by those deviations falling within buffer zone and none being actually within wetland, within 25-foot no storage zone, and within riverfront area. So that is what I will add, but the commission does need to, discuss that.
Based on the images that we've seen in the description of the change to the plans, does the commission have any concerns or questions regarding the order of conditions or the overall project?
I'll move to issue a certificate of compliance for 1245 Bernardston Road, local NOI, so there's no DEP final number. Noting the ongoing conditions number 69 and 71 through 77, which are the same conditions we mentioned in the last project.
Okay, wonderful. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes.
Thank you so much, Melinda. I really appreciate all your time going through every little detail with me prior to this meeting.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys for all your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Good
Bye.
night.
Okay, we do have one remaining item on the agenda. Currently, Griswold Conservation Area presentation follow-up discussion, commission to discuss updating the forest management plan that expires this year, considering the presentation from the Conservation Commission on January 27th, 2026. Agent to update the commission on progress of trail markers and boardwalk repair project. We have allocated for 15 minutes for this item on the agenda. However, I will point out that it is 8:56 p.m. And as such, I would kindly request that all updates are done so concisely.
We don't need 15 minutes. I am officially in the process of moving the expenses up the chain. I've found all the different steps. I have submitted the financial order to Kath with accounting.
Mhm.
And I found a box of nails
Sure.
in the office, which are not labeled nails. They're labeled like fasteners. So I just, and it doesn't have a picture of a nail on it. So I was like, oh, those are probably for like packets or something. You know, because it was within like the staples and highlighters and all that stuff. So anyway, my apologies. We have maybe around 350 to 400 aluminum siding nails.
Right. Fascinating.
And that's the update. I think that I want to set up maybe some phone time with Emily to discuss like exactly when I should be moving forward with like submissions and stuff, but
Just very concisely right the second. What I recommend, and I'll stay hands off generally, but in terms of the process, there were other members of the Open Space Task Force that were interested in Griswold. So a meeting between, you know, Jessica and maybe a member of OSTF and CONSCOM to just hammer out what exactly might be brought to us to say, oh yes, let's do that as a plan. Would be
like
good.
offline, like having
Yeah,
a separate
just a-
meeting
just a
and
meeting
then
to
coming
look at.
back to the Concom.
Yeah.
Okay.
If people have the time, but that might be
Okay.
just a productive way to
Yeah.
move forward. And then just the new fiscal year is beginning, so the grant cycle is begun. It's a very, very, like, finances are very tight.
Okay.
So just know that the budget hasn't been set for the new fiscal year for the state. That will happen in the next month or two, but it's always helpful to put yourself in the list, even if you have to wait, because then at least you're in the waiting line.
Right.
So, so that's it. I just would encourage us to move forward and, you know,
Okay.
but there is some interest in Patty O'Neill was the person who came out and, you know,
Yeah.
Patty talked with Lincoln and Toby, the foresters, and saw the sites and the Open Space Task Force is interested in encouraging, you know, engagement with the properties of the city. So that might be really helpful.
Okay.
thing to do.
Thank you. That's it for me.
Alrighty. Well, that's exciting. And that looks like everything. Any of our standing items need to be discussed?
No updates.
Wonderful. In that case, we'll set the next meeting date, which will be Tuesday, August 25th, 2026, 6:30 p.m. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
All right.
Good job.
All right.
9
Well,
p.m.
what was your first,
Okay.
Thank you. I didn't want to talk over